Hello, welcome back to Sewing Street, Victoria Carrington.
Hello.
How lovely it is to see you here. You're our
you.
very first guest designer.
I know, no pressure.
No pressure. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Yeah,
Jolly
great.
good. For anybody that hasn't met Victoria before, it's all the Victorias filming today, isn't it? It's all of us.
Yeah.
For anybody that hasn't met you before, tell us a bit about yourself. How did you start sewing?
So basically going back to what was being discussed before about like mindfulness and things like that. So basically I got quite bad postnatal anxiety after I had my first daughter. And I went for some counselling and they said the best thing to do is get a hobby. So I picked sewing because it's a great thing that you can kind of do at home when the kids are in bed. You don't need to have to go out in the car to a gym or what have you like that. Yeah. So I just kind of went from there. I went to some quilting classes, had a great teacher and a good experience there. And then I started doing some workshops with her teaching and then started doing some patterns for a magazine. And then here I am today. It's
all gone from there. So
yep.
you are a quilter as well as making lots of little lovely bits and bobs, which we're going to be doing today. We've got loads on the desk here in fact to get us going. So what is it that you want to show us?
So I thought, as you said, we'll do some little bits and bobs.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to show you how to make a little gift bag. We're going to do some some Seminole patchwork, which I haven't done on live before, so we'll have a go at that.
And so what's that one, sorry?
So this is Seminole patchwork.
Seminole?
Yeah. So basically it is, so the American Indians started doing this sort of thing. So they get the end bits of fabric in strips.
Yeah.
And then do them into all these sorts of, so it's kind of like a strip.
Ah, strip piece.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And then you just cut it up in different ways to make all these different sort of effects.
So hopefully we'll get time to show you some of this as well.
Yep.
And again, if we get time, we've got
this one.
Our pincushion, and I love this butterfly origami.
Yeah.
Is it origami?
Yep.
Yeah? Butterfly as well. Hopefully we're going to get a chance to do all of this. So we're going to start with the bag. I think gift bags, this is a brilliant place to sort of start as well, that you can use and gift.
Exactly, and it's so easy. You don't need a pattern or anything. I can just talk you through how to make one yourself. So first thing you need are 2 pieces of fabric, which are 9-inch square.
Right.
Okay, and then you place those right sides together. Okay, I didn't have enough spotty fabric to do it on that, so just imagine this is the spotty fabric. So what you do is you need to leave yourself a gap here, okay, to turn through. So you do a couple of back stitches there and then just stitch all the way round with a 1/4 inch seam. And then again at the end back stitch, and then you've obviously got your hole there, okay? Then you need to just trim back your corners like we normally do. Which reduces the bulk when you turn it through.
So then you get a nice definite point.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that's the first stage of it.
So then you've turned yours through.
So I've turned it through.
Okay.
Okay. And then I've just pressed where the gap was. So make sure your edges are neatly in, and then you can just literally just top stitch all around the edge as close as you can to it. Okay.
And give it all a good press as you've turned it through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we've got the green on one side and the spotty on the other. Okay. Then what you have to do is you measure in from each side. So if you measure in 3 inches from there and just put a little mark, and then again from this side I've measured 3 inches and put a mark there. Okay. So if this ends up being like a little bit smaller, it doesn't matter, just as long as these are the same distance.
Which are 3 inches each, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
okay.
Again, I've measured 3 inches there, 3 inches there, and done that all the way around.
Victoria, do you have a choice in a preference in marking tools as well? Because if you're putting a pen on this, is it something you're going to see, or does it matter what you're using?
Well, I tend to use a friction pen for most things that you sort of can't really see. Like I wouldn't necessarily draw a quilt design onto a quilt with this. But for little bits like that, I'd use a friction pen. Yeah. So basically you mark it on and then you use heat to remove it.
Yeah, so once you've ironed it,
an iron or a hairdryer if it's something kind of pleated or whatever, that you don't want to squash down your fabric,
that's a good tip.
Then you can use that. But anything like a chalk marker or a pencil or whatever you've got, whatever you prefer to use really. Okay, so then what you do is we're going to take where these points are here, okay? And then I'm just going to fold that corner back. So whatever you want as your kind of leaf on the top.
So that's your little strawberry, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So you want your main body of the bag to be facing up and your top section to be facing down.
Absolutely. Okay, so then I'm just going to pin that. Like that, and then you do the same thing to all 4 corners. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is just start a little bit further in, do a back stitch, go straight along and back again, and we're doing that about 1/2 inch away from the folded edge.
Does that need to be accurate? Do you need to mark that, or just get your eye in? And
you can mark it if you want. Yeah, you can do.
How are you finding the 720 Pro?
Well, I've never used this before, but
so we'll see. We'll find out together. We'll find out together how you're finding it.
Yeah. Okay.
Start with a reverse.
So I'm starting a little bit in, reversing back, and then going straight forwards. Okay.
I tell you what, it feels so good to be back in everybody's living room, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels weirdly familiar. Like, I suppose because it's all. I mean, Joe on camera's got Paul in the gallery right now.
Yeah,
it all feels lovely and homely. Family back together.
And we're lucky to be back, aren't we?
Yes.
Definitely. Right. Okay. So I've just done that on that one corner.
Right.
So here's one I made earlier. Okay, so ignore the fact that this ribbon's through at the moment, but what you need to do is you take a piece of ribbon. Now this is about 30 inches long, so I've got 2 pieces of that. And then what you're going to do is tie a safety pin to the end, and then just thread it through. So you've got your 2 ends coming out one side, and then I'm just going to thread this one through around the other side.
Right, so you've got 2 ribbons going around.
Yeah. In opposite directions.
That's a nice little tip actually to put the safety pin on the end.
Yeah, and give it a good knot, because the first time I did this I kept losing the safety pin because the ribbon was a bit slippery.
So handy to be able to have little bags though, isn't it? These would be lovely in Christmas Christmas fabrics as well as decorations on your tree.
Yeah.
I think they're lovely.
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
something that you can reuse, you know, whether it instead of doing gift bags and wrapping paper, this is something that someone can use in their home and use as storage bits and bobs in there.
And if you wanted to because I give a lot of people cash for presents.
Yeah, that's
you could
really
put that
good
in there
for vouchers.
Yeah. Or if you don't have crackers at Christmas, you could put like a table gift in.
Yeah, they're lovely.
So yeah, there's lots of different options for it. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is just cut that end off. Okay, and then flip it over. I'm just going to tie these ends off. And you can put anything on it you want. So on that strawberry one, I've got a strawberry bell.
Oh, look at Vic's strawberry bell. Where did you get this? That's so cute.
Festival of Quilts, I got it.
Oh, I love this. Oh, I love anything that's got, little bells.
Yeah, and then that other one I've put bells on the. So for this one I've used like a gold cord.
Oh, nice.
And then sewn bells onto the corner, so that's more of a kind of Christmassy one.
See, with this you don't actually need that much. Like you say, you're showing us how to do it, so you don't need a pattern.
Yeah.
You can do this with quite a lot of bits and bobs that you've probably already got at home. You've got in your stash, or you found a bit of ribbon.
Yeah.
Do you know these? Oh my word, they are my absolute hate.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm going to say?
The tags on
these tops. Keep hold of them though. Keep hold of them, because they're no good, are they, on your hangers? But actually. Sorry, my face doesn't envision that. If you cut those out, they're handy to keep as well, aren't they, for ribbons?
Yeah, definitely. So keep anything like that, but little buttons or anything you could stitch on. So that's that.
So that is literally done.
That's it.
How quick and easy is that? Nice, quick, easy make, especially to do with kids as well. They're nice to do.
Yeah,
aren't
definitely
they?
get them threading the ribbon
that's
through.
it. Right,
Okay,
so
next.
the next project. This is a little speedy workshop. We've got loads and loads and loads to bring you. So, name this patchwork again, sorry.
Seminole.
Seminole.
Yeah.
It is a type of quilting, patchwork.
Yes,
yeah?
it is, yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
And even if you didn't, so this was a block that I did when I did one of my first sampler quilts. Obviously, I haven't finished my sampler quilt from about 5 years ago, but there we go. But this was one of the blocks, and everybody in the group loved doing the Seminole because it's amazing the results you can get from just cutting strips.
Right, so is this using scraps and small pieces, or do you start off with large pieces?
When I'm making anything larger, because you can use this for sort of borders and things like that. So even if you don't like the sort of in a row effect, so you can just use it for borders. So I've got some examples to show you.
Oh yes, is this on your quilt, the border?
Yeah.
Look at this. Oh, this is gorgeous. When did you make this?
So this was one of the first ones I made. So that's from the butterflies from somebody else's pattern. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But yeah, so even though that doesn't look like the standard Seminole kind of, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the strips.
You can use the same technique to do that, because it looks like you've pieced all those individually, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
So this is something that we've got just over about half an hour, and it's something that you're going to be able to show how to do.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you
Amazing.
a couple of different
Thank you.
techniques for that. Okay, first off.
Whoops.
Oh,
Sorry.
she grabbing you?
Yeah, she's grabbing me.
She's overexcited like us, isn't she? Okay, so the first one I'm going to show you is this rick-rack. So this is called rick-rack, this one here. Oh, there we go. So it's just like a zigzag with a colour at the top and a colour at the bottom. Okay. So what you need to do, and obviously you can vary the size of it depending on your project. So for this one, I've taken 2 strips of fabric, which are 1 1/4 inch each.
But you could do this with wider strips of fabric.
Yeah, you can. The best thing to do is just have a bit of a play with it.
Yeah.
And but the general rule is, so if I've cut these strips 1 1/4 inch, then I need to subcut it 1 1/4 inch as well. So that's just a general rule. Right. So so you stitch them together with a 1/4 inch seam, and you press the seam to one side. Don't press it open because you'll need to nestle them.
Does it matter which side, depending on what fabrics you're using? Would you do one that was a darker side?
I've pressed to the darker side on this one, but it doesn't really matter if you've got 2 dark fabrics or what have you. Okay, so on this as well, I used a scant 1/4 inch. So it's just like literally a hair less than a 1/4 inch, because when you fold it back and press it, you've obviously got that fold to take into consideration size-wise.
Gosh, that is precise.
Yeah, so the thing with this is the more precise you cut and stitch, the better result you get.
Right.
Okay, so.
Do you find when you're sewing your quarter, sorry, I'm going off on it, but do you know when you are sewing your 1/4 inch, even if you're on a 1/4 inch setting on your machine, or you've got your 1/4 inch foot, do you still measure and see what your machine, because they can vary, can't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think once you get to know your machine, I mean, my machine at home, I've got the foot with the guide on the side of it.
Yeah.
So
the 720 comes with your 1/4 inch foot like this.
So I've got that guide on it. There you go. That's the bottom of it. So when you're stitching, that just runs up the side of your fabric. So when I'm doing a scant, I just don't let it touch that thing just slightly.
Yeah.
But also, I have to move my needle across to get even if it's on the 1/4 inch setting, I still move my needle across slightly because it's not 100% 1/4 inch on mine. So, and I've got quite a good machine. So, right. So these strips are 1 1/4 inches. So
you
now
want to cut 1 1/4 inches.
1 1/4, yeah. Okay. So the best thing to do is just make sure that you've got your lines all lined up with your ruler, so it's nice and straight. Okay, so I'm just going to cut a few of these.
But for anybody that hasn't seen the Creative Grid rulers before as well, hopefully we're going to be obviously getting these in soon as well, which are brilliant, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're really handy to be able to see all of the markings throughout your ruler.
I wouldn't use anything else. They're brilliant. Okay. So now what we're going to do is create this.
Do you find, Vic, that you do yourself a bit of a production line? So you would sew a lot of strips together, then you would cut a lot of pieces, Yeah.
So if you were doing like a big border on a big quilt, then you'd obviously use the width of the fabric to cut your strips and then just stitch a big long one together and then just subcut them all.
Right.
Okay. So what we're going to do is...
This you could then incorporate in even applique onto cushions or bags. You could use it with all sorts, couldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. It would make a nice panels down the centre of a bag and then you've got your plain fabric around the edge. Right, so what you need to do is I find it easier to set it how I want it to look and then flip it over. So I'm going to stagger it like that. So I'm creating this, okay?
Yeah.
Right.
You've got to think about it. I can hear the cogs going.
Oh, I tell you what. Oh, blimey.
We're all right, we can breathe. Right.
I haven't done this for a while, have I, in terms of being on TV? Crikey. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put these right sides together. Oh, this will be a close-up job, this will.
Come on in.
Come on in. Right, so I am lining up the raw edge of this top one here.
Yeah.
With the edge of the raw edge of the seams on the one underneath.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Right, so that one, so the Did Paul just sound a shaky hand?
No.
I can hear him through the wall.
No, he didn't.
I've always got shaky hands. So, right. So basically what you do now is stitch 1/4 of an inch along there. Okay, and then it'll be easy to see once I've done that. Okay, so I'm just
Are you going to put your
my
1/4
of an inch foot on.
You can hear him through the wall, can't you? We're in, we're normally Paul's a million miles away from us.
Yeah,
but he's
I never
actually
hear
over
what
there.
he's saying.
No. Now you know what I have to put
I
up
know.
with.
I can't listen, talk and sew at the same time.
No, we'll leave you to do your bit. Paul, be quiet.
Oh my God.
Already, this is the
It's just
first
making
guest
my hands shake
designer
more.
show, and he's already calling absolute mayhem. He wants to say hello to all his fans as well, and he's really happy to be with you.
Do you think anybody's shouting back?
I hope so. He's shouting back at the telly. He said he's very grateful for all his followers on social media.
Okay, so then you open it up and you then press that. I haven't got an iron, but we'll just finger press it, okay?
And would you individually press these at home? Like, if you have the time, would you individually press these with an iron?
Yeah, I would, yeah. Just makes it
It makes it
crisper.
very precise as well, doesn't it?
So again, we're just going to take the next one, line it up, flip him over, and line up that raw edge with the raw edge of your seams there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got that?
Yeah. And then stitch that on.
It does look so pretty, especially with these very kitschy sort of beautiful fabrics. They're lovely, like vintage feel. I think it works really well with this style. Do you think about different scales of print when you're doing this?
Yeah, definitely.
Style?
Yeah, because I tend to use like ditzy small prints or solids for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because once you, so say you've got a fabric that's got like a big pattern on it. If you're cutting it down to this, you might not have that blue anymore. You might have like a pink flower there, which takes away the sort of contrasting effect.
Right. So you want to pick two contrasting fabrics
Yeah.
that are then also smaller prints, smaller
Yeah.
scale prints or solids.
Yeah, exactly. So you just keep adding to that. Okay? Then once you've got that, what you need to do is trim it down.
Okay.
So then we're making this one. Okay?
Lovely.
So all you do for that, so if you've got a really long length, what you'll need to do is just pull the fabric slightly so that your 1/4 of an inch, hang on, let me get it lined up first, so that your 1/4 of an inch on your ruler is exactly where that point there starts, okay?
We're going to try and come in a bit closer.
It doesn't help that I'm blue on blue,
Okay.
does it? So these points here.
We're going to come in even closer, Vic. Here we go.
Very hot. Not like as in nice hot, like...
We need a fan. Paul brought his biggest fan with him today, didn't he? We've got a fan somewhere in here. Oh, it's in the gallery with him. He bought his biggest fan for support. It's one of those, what do you plug in?
I can't feel that from here.
Oh, they're wafting. We've got the leaves and the grapes ready for you.
Okay, so I'm just going to trim that across there. Okay, so don't worry, because I've seen in books and magazines and stuff this technique, and everybody has the same thing where there's little like dinks out of it. Can you see?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you've still got that. You'll be following the stitch line to the points there, so that will just be going to your seam allowance. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you obviously do the same on the other side, and then you have your strip like that, and then you just sew it into your project. So
then you could sew it into another row, or that's what you've done here, or into a panel on a bag, or onto the side of a cushion, or your border on a quilt.
Exactly. Yeah. So what you do is you take your bit that you're attaching it to, or what have you. Pop that there, and you just stitch across, making sure that every time you are hitting where those seams cross together, and then that will give you a nice sharp point when you've finished.
So are you best to sew this side up?
Yes. Yeah, and then that's also stops this getting like pulled.
Chewed up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so that's that one.
Are we going to do another one of these, or do you want to move on to
So let's do that peachy coloured one next.
Right. We've got about 25 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, this is lovely. Look at that. See, that looks like you have spent a lot of time piecing every single individual square and triangle there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But actually, it's a lot quicker and a lot easier than you think.
Right, so for this one, now what I've done on this one to omit having that little dink out of the edges, I've just increased the size of the outer ones on this one by 1/4 of an inch. So I've got 1 3/4 inches, 1 1/2, 1 1/2, 1 1/2, and 1 3/4. Okay, and I went for the dark fabric through the middle, 2 paler ones, and then a medium on the outside, which gives you quite a nice contrast.
Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose it's trying to never have a bit of a play around with what fabrics went well.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm going to do, because this is the section that's kind of the main bit, I'm going to cut them at 1 1/2 inch strips. Okay. One and a half.
Before you cut,
One
say
and
it
a
out.
half, yeah. Makes it all right if you say it out loud.
Measure twice, cut once.
True.
You heard his shout.
He's just yelling fact.
Oh my word, he hasn't got his joke book out yet, don't worry. I don't think we could handle that, not in this heat.
Okay, so what we're going to do on this one, so...
Right, have you pressed them all the same way, by the way?
Sorry, yes, I didn't mention that. So you press them all in the same direction.
Okay.
Okay, and now what you need to do is the two you're joining together, you need to flip them round so that your seams go in opposite directions.
Right.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now is that's how I want them to go, because again we're doing this step system here. And I'm going to nestle the seam that I've got there with the seam that I've got there. Okay?
It's a bit like Bargello, is it?
Yes, it is, yeah. It's a lot like that actually.
You get this lovely sort of ripple effect, which looks amazing again with solid fabrics, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Rainbow colours and...
Yeah, and this one, these go really sit nicely together, so it's quite quick to sew.
So you don't need a pin, you don't need to pin that together, because they do just sort of nest into each other.
Okay, and then again, I'm just going to sew 1/4 of an inch seam.
Do you need to reverse or no?
No, you don't need to on this. Okay.
Do you find sometimes they try to flip the other way back? Are you just stopping them from going the wrong way?
Because you kind of sort of you're holding where the seam is to make sure they nest properly, then it doesn't seem to pop up as much. Okay, so when you open it out then your points
the corners meet.
all match because they've all been nestled together.
Then once you give that a good old press,
yeah, exactly.
they will then...
Yeah. So again, you just keep adding to it. And then
until when? How do you just keep going and keep going as long as your project?
As much as you, what depending on what size you want your border or what have you, or what size quilt you're making, then yeah. Okay, so again, I'm just going to trim. Make sure my points that I want to keep are a 1/4 of an inch in, and then trim those away.
I do like it in these bijou prints, these macauas. They look really lovely, don't they?
The bijou fabrics are my all-time go-to favourite. I think they're lovely.
Well, I think they've thought about the different colour shades and the different scales of print, especially for quilters. It works really well, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that's that, and then you've got your 1/4 of an inch seam that you can sew into your project.
Even though there's a lot of seams behind there, it's not as bulky as I thought it would be. You could actually...
Yeah, and I tend to spray starch these when I'm at this stage where I've got them in strips.
Yeah.
I'll just put a bit of spray starch and then they just sit really nicely.
And that looks gorgeous, doesn't it? Yeah. So then you can add that into the other one that we've just learnt as well. You can...
Yeah.
I'll show you this. So you can see how, if you then strip all these techniques together, you can make an amazing sampler quilt.
Yeah, exactly.
Wall hanging or cushion front.
And then all you do is to kind of separate them out is just put different size strips between them, which kind of separates them and gives you the nice sort of effect.
Now we've got the...
Let's go for that one now.
What's this one called? Don't know.
I never know what things are called.
This is like the chevron, isn't it? Yeah, I do like that word, chevron. Yeah. Again, this one has got that. I love that it's almost got like a bit of...
It's like piping in a bit.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to do that as well. I've got that.
Got that on to bring all this across.
Yeah. Okay, so with this one, this is quite a fun one to do. So what you need to do...
And where do you find that you do this? Is it mainly with your quilting that you will add in this technique?
I would, because that's mainly what I make, really. Yeah. But yeah, like you've said, you can do it with anything. You can make a nice cushion with just to have a go with, really. Yeah. And there's lots of different videos on YouTube and patterns around that you can find. So I bought a book on it, and when it arrived, it was all in German.
Oh no!
But luckily, I could understand the pictures. No. Okay, so. What size did I do these? Hang on.
You've written on most of them, haven't you?
I know. So these are 1.5. So I've cut these 1.5 inches.
All three this time. You've done all three 1.5 inches.
Let me just double check that one. Yes. Right.
All three the same size.
And I've pressed them all in the same direction again. So I've got two similar-ish fabrics, but they're obviously not the same.
So the one that's running through the centre is going to make that V, is going to make that chevron. So you want, it works really well with your light plain fabric, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah. So what I'm going to do now is put these together so that the seams are going in opposite directions. So this one is going, this one's going that way, and this one's going that way. And I'm going to nestle those together.
So again, no pins?
I'm going to pin this.
Right.
Okay, so you can feel them going together. Okay.
What are you feeling for them to...
So I'm just feeling that they're locking together.
Right. It's better to spend that bit of time pinning and get them exactly in place, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I should have done this bit at home, shouldn't I?
No!
So I can feel they're all locked together.
We're still fine for time. We've got 20 minutes.
Ogly dogly. Right, so what I'm going to do now is cut these at a 45-degree angle.
This is another great thing about these rulers, isn't
it?
Does it have a 45-degree angle,
so even the small rulers have got 45 degrees on, which is really good. Okay, so the way you do it if you were right-handed, would be different to how I do it because I'm left-handed, you see. So I'll do it the left-handed.
Yeah. I was going to say, you were
Yeah,
going
I was
to show,
like-
and
I was
then
like,
thought,
"Whoa."
actually, it just feels wrong, doesn't it? We're both left-handed, so we're going to go with the left-handed way.
Okay, so I've lined up my 45-degree mark along one of the straight edges, and I've made sure that I'm just meeting it here. And then I'm going to cut through there. Make sure you don't cut through any of your pins. And I'm going to turn him round because of my left-handedness. And then I'm going to cut these at 1.5 inches wide. So I'm still staying, so I'm using this line now as a guide, okay? It's all very tense. All holding our breaths.
I'm conscious. I don't want to
Paul's
make
gone
you
quiet.
multitask. Oh yeah, he's behaving. He's behaving.
Okay, right, so you don't lift them up, separate them or anything. So what we're going to do now, so you'll have numerous strips, and then we're going to sew along 1/4 inch along each edge. Now these are nestled together because you've cut them together. So really, in theory, you don't have to do anything else except sew it 1/4 inch. Let's give it a whirl.
Now, if you've got a point like that it
Yeah.
goes into a point, I found that sometimes my machine will chew it up
Yeah.
at the bottom. How can I prevent that happening
isn't-
if you've got a point?
This isn't too bad because you're kind of going in at the side.
Yeah.
But I mean, some machines have, I think it's called a single stitch plate, where it
yeah.
doesn't kind of drag it down into the little hole in the middle.
Yeah.
So you could always put that on.
Yeah, this machine I think has got the single stitch plate or something.
Yeah.
It's
So just make sure that's nice and flat. Okay, and then I just take the next one and just chain piece it along. So you're always stitching along the same side. Don't switch which side you get, otherwise you get your your colours around the wrong way.
So I suppose that's, if you're chain piecing, that helps that as well because you know exactly which angle your last piece
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, and it doesn't chew it up as much if you're chain piecing. Okay.
So you would, at home, keep going and keep going and keep
Yeah.
going, chain piecing them all together.
Yeah. The moment of truth. So then what you'd do is you'd press these open.
Ah, open this time.
Yeah, because they sit nice and flat when they're open on this one.
In quilting, it's not very often that you press seams open, is it? Dressmaking, it's always open.
Yeah,
but
yeah. It's just one of those things. It's all dependent on your project and how many seams you've got and what feels and looks best. Because sometimes you can press it to one side and think, oh, that doesn't look right, and then just press it open. Some people don't like pressing it open because they don't think it's it's not as strong.
Right.
But I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I'll do it. Maverick.
Rebel.
So there you got your 2 chevrons, okay?
They look really good.
And those points match perfectly, don't they?
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
not saying I'm super skilled.
No,
I'm just saying that this
but
is a
look
good
at,
technique.
have we got in how well their points have matched in?
Now, to join these together now, when you join that to that one, again, your seams nestle together.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to get good points. I'm getting a bit excited
It almost looks
about
like
this.
it's been paper pieced, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It almost
yeah.
looks like you've had to foundation paper piece this to get that precision
Yeah.
and accuracy.
Oh, just press the cutter instead of the... Right. And then again, press it open.
Can you just do it with your little roller, or are you best
you
to
can-
get the iron out?
You're best doing it with an iron, to be honest. But you can use your seam roller, you know, them little plastic things, just to get it going. And then you've got your points that match.
Ah, so you'd keep stitching them all together
Yeah,
and then trimming again.
yeah. So
Right.
I've done a bigger strip of these. Now, you've got quite a lot of distance here. So you've got from this point to here. So you can do as I've done, so it's like sort of not the points aren't directly against the edge, or you could put them against the edge if you wanted.
There you go. So they're not next to
Yeah.
it, but you could actually put that almost piping right along the edge of that.
Yeah, you could, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, to do that, just make sure whatever size you choose, you're just lining up all your points. So let's go for a wide one. I think that's about right. So again, I'm lining up these points here. Okay, and then you just do that.
It's actually a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be. The technique is
Yeah,
actually really
yeah.
quick, isn't it? To
And it
say
looks
how
really
intricate it is.
complicated.
Yeah. It does look very advanced, doesn't it? It looks very intricate.
Yeah. And then you just sew that into your project.
That's a really good technique. We've never shown on air before, have we?
I've not done Seminole before on the show, so yeah. Now this is really, I've done this on not like every single project since I've learned how to do this now. I think it looks brilliant.
It does look very professional.
Yeah, yeah. So it looks like you've stitched in a really kind of thin border.
Yeah, like a little piping edge.
Yeah. There you go. But actually it's like it's just like a flappy type bit.
Oh, yes.
Like that.
Technical terms.
Not very glamorous, is it? So all you do for that is you cut a piece of fabric which is 3/4 of an inch wide.
Right.
And
To the length of your project.
Yeah, for however long you want it. And if you've got, you can join it, so you just join your other bit on and then press your seams open so it's not too bulky.
It's nice as a contrast with your main fabric as well, isn't it? So it really stands out.
Yeah. So then what you do is you press that, so lengthways, wrong sides together, just like that. And then you line that up to the edge of your project where you want to attach it. Okay, and then you just do like a basting stitch about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Okay, then you don't do anything, you don't touch that now, and then you place your other piece over the top.
Right, so you haven't gone end to end. There's still going to be a bit of overhang either side, or does that matter?
You can have a bit of over. You can do it exactly to size, whatever you want to do. Really, I just do it like this and then cut it off because it's sometimes easier. So you've done 1/8 of an inch on that one, and then you put your other fabric over the top, and then you stitch 1/4 of an inch along there. Okay, so then when you fold that back, you've only got a tiny bit
It's exposed.
showing.
Gosh, that does look really, really lovely, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I use it on all of them now. And then what I do as well is, so once I've put it into a quilt, is I follow the, because with these paler fabrics, you can see the seam across the air. And I'll just do like a little hand quilting stitch running stitch along there, and it really
You could do a
looks
decorative
good.
stitch even, or you know, like sort of a zigzaggy style stitch. There's loads, I mean, on this machine, lots of different patterns, but that would look beautiful then, just a top stitch again.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
So there's a few to have a go at.
Yeah, have a go. Have we got time to do one more little project? We've got 9 minutes. Are you happy to?
Yeah.
Let's crack on.
Let's do the
We've got-
butterfly and then.
Oh, I love a bit of origami as well. That's supposed to be very sort of therapeutic, isn't it, in mindfulness? I know that Paul has been desperate to know how to make an origami swan. We can show you how to make all of his life. We can show you how to do a butterfly today. So we are making this. How about that? In less than an hour, we've got 3 different techniques and different projects to be getting on with. This is really handy, again, for you to use, gift, even just to have on your workroom desk. It looks pretty.
You can upscale it to do a cushion.
Oh, great.
So yeah, lots of
ideas.
I've done hair clips with the
with the
just
butterflies.
glued back of the butterfly and put a clip on it.
Oh yeah, that's a really good idea. In fact, I know someone who had a wedding dress and made loads of little butterflies and just even put them all onto a veil or put them onto a dress.
Yeah,
that would look nice, wouldn't it?
Right. So I've cut 2 pieces of rectangles of fabric.
Similarly to what we did with the gift bag.
Yeah, exactly. And these are 4 inches by 3 inches. Okay, and again, I did exactly what we did with the gift bag. Back stitched, stitch around with a 1/4 of an inch seam and back stitched again. Trim the corners back and then turned it.
How much of a gap do you leave? Because when it's smaller, it can be a bit fiddly, can't it?
Yeah.
So as big as you can manage.
Yeah. Just so you've got your edges sealed, yeah. Okay, so then you turn that through, and then you have this, okay? So you don't need to top stitch along this one. All I've done is just done a little like ladder stitch, just to
You can't even see that.
No, so that just seals the hole closed. Okay, now what I've done for demonstration purposes is done a bigger one because we can see it better.
Thank you very much, that's handy.
It's all right.
But this is good that you can actually upscale it and make your butterflies as big as you want.
Exactly.
I suppose,
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So first job you do is fold that. So my butterfly wings are going to be this pattern blue, and then that's going to be its body. Okay. So what you do is you fold it in half that way, and then you fold it in half again that way. Okay. Then you lift this one half up, and you pull that triangle down like that. Okay, then you flip him over, lift this side up, and again pull that down into a triangle.
Did you follow that, everybody? I'm hoping you'll be able to watch this as well. We are, as we speak, working on our YouTube channel. So, of course, as before, a lot of people like to sew along at home as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, ASAP, these will all be up on YouTube as well, which is exciting. So then you can sew along with us as well, and you can watch that back and do it along with us. So thank you for welcoming us back into your living room. Thank you.
So then what you do, so then you've got like a folded piece in the middle here. So what we're going to do is push these inside, so they've made like, it's hard to do that, isn't it? Push those inside like that, so you've got two. That's better, isn't it? So it's folding inside. Then what you do?
Do you find clips at this point easier than pins?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, is then you pull that. So you're pulling that bit down, and then you've got your first side of your butterfly, and then you
It's starting to look like a butterfly.
pull that side down. Oh, he's getting excited in there, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, that looks so pretty. I bet when you make your very first one, you were like, yes, I've done it. And then everything you're looking at, you're making into butterflies.
Yeah, yeah.
That is brilliant.
Yeah. So, and then to make its antennae.
Yeah, yeah. Antenna,
Like that.
antenna. That
All
looks like a little hairband.
Yeah, so I've got a bit of
Elastic.
brown elastic, and then you just cut it to whatever size you want, and then just put a dab of fabric glue on the end of each, and that makes it look like the little balls on the end, and also stops it from fraying. And then all you do is just pop it in and just stitch it in.
How do you stitch this down? Just again,
So
very.
what I'll do is I'll show you. Did I bring? Here we
Got
go.
4 minutes.
Okay, so to secure its, so you need to stitch across here to secure its body. Okay, so I'm just going to go.
Yeah, because at that
there.
point I would just say, right, it's all clipped there. I'm leaving it there. I'm not trying to.
And then just keep going backwards and forwards to join those two folds together.
Would that be enough to hold the whole butterfly together?
Yeah, so just
nice.
as long as you do a
Back
good
and
amount of
forth, yeah.
stitches, you're fine with that.
And I suppose then you can just bury that into the body.
And then so imagine that's done. And then if you don't like this taily bit on the end, you could always stitch that up. So if you don't like that bit at the bottom, you can stitch that, just roughly stitch it to the back there like that.
Gosh, they'd be lovely for brooches, like you say, hair bits and bobs, or on clothes, on shoulder bits.
Yeah,
or,
a cushion
really
with them
nice.
all on, or
a bag, everything, yeah. Amazing.
That's quite a good one to make. Right. How long have I got
I've
left?
got about 3 minutes. Is that going to be enough to even talk through how to do this part?
Right. I'm not sure.
We'll see. We'll do as far as we can. We will go as far as we can.
Right, so what you need to do is take 2 6-inch squares. And what I've done here is I've drawn a 1/4 inch line around the edge of one of the squares. So this would be on the wrong side if this was pattern fabric, okay? Then you just fold it in half, finger press, and then just draw on where the halfway mark is, so do it that way as well.
Got it.
Okay, on this one, I'm marking on the right side and I'm just marking the halfway points, okay? Then what you do is you take this piece and you put it on top, so your right sides are together, okay? Then you make sure that this corner here that you've drawn, okay, lines up with that mark on your other fabric, okay? So we're sort of offsetting it so it's halfway across, okay? So again, this line, and then you'll have a 1/4 inch seam allowance there, okay?
How long did you say, sorry, Paul? Just over a minute.
I need to change my foot as well. Oh, I don't think I'm going to have time to do this, am I?
No, it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. We've seen how you do the lovely
if I just talk you through it.
Yeah.
So basically, if you start there, back stitch to the corner there, don't lift your needle. Okay, so imagine that's stitched.
Yeah.
So if that's my needle,
Yeah.
I'm going to twizzle him round, and then I'm going to pull this, so this will come with it because that'll be stitched on, and that will go to there.
Yeah.
So then I stitch along there,
Right.
and then again twizzle it, and then I'm pulling that so that meets that mark. So you just carry on doing that until you get to here, and then you'll have a turn through point here. Stuff it, stitch it up, stick your butterfly on, put a button from the front and back, end off.
Voila, voila, voila. Thank you so much. It's so amazing to see you back. We got through it. Thank you very, very much. We've got so much to bring you over the next few days as well. I've got Joan McCreary, we've got Debbie Shaw, we've got so many guests for you, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you very soon. Thank you. Bye.